Yeah, gonna be a fun day. It's always fun fishing. It's always fun fishing.
You ready to fish?
Ready to fish.
Good.
For centuries, the Red Lake Band of Chippewa, located in northern Minnesota, depended on its namesake lake, known in Anishinaabe as Misquagami-Wisaga-Egening, for its cultural lifeblood. Considering it a sacred gift from their creator, the people relied on the lake and its plentiful bounty of fish, including their prized walleye, as their food warehouse. Thus, the Red Lake people have always struggled to protect the lake and its life for future generations. In 1889, Red Lake chiefs resisted the General Allotment Act on the grounds that preserving the band's lands and waters for its sole, communal use was critical to the survival of their people and culture.
They had the foresight to look forward and say, we have to seed something, but we need to hang on to a land for our people, resources for our people if we're going to sustain for the future. It might not benefit us, but in the future it's going to benefit those generations yet to come.
The chief's stand led to Red Lake becoming one of only 2 closed Indian reservations in the United States, enabling the band to maintain complete jurisdiction over its lands and waters. The chiefs at the time believed this meant all of Red Lake. But due to what some have called a cartographer's error, the easternmost portion of Upper Red Lake was excluded from the reservation, eventually falling under the state of Minnesota's jurisdiction. For the Red Lake people, fishing was an honorable way of life and a family affair, strengthening bonds of kin and community. For the young, it taught responsibility, dedication, self-reliance, and the value and rewards of hard work.
It definitely was a lifestyle. And people that were more of a fisherman than I was, they grew up doing this, and they lived by the lake shores in the summertime. That was their fish camp.
I started out by just chasing flies, really, when I was small. And then after that, I started to hang nets, and take out fish. And as I got older, then I was able to go along with my dad to help him set nets. And then finally I was starting to help him pull and set nets. It was just a good life fishing all those years, and I really enjoyed that.
Before the reservation, band members harvested the walleye and other fish in Red Lake for personal consumption or trade. However, during World War I, food shortages and high beef prices prompted the state of Minnesota to establish a commercial fishery on Red Lake to provide sustenance to residents of the region. In 1929, the Minnesota Supreme Court ordered the state to abandon commercial fishing, prompting the U.S. Department of Interior and the Bureau of Indian Affairs to assume management of the fishery on behalf of the band. Red Lake's commercial fishermen soon formed the Red Lake Fisheries Association, a cooperative organization that sought to ensure top dollar for their catch. Walleye fishing quickly became a profitable business, and band members with few other job prospects eagerly cashed in. By the 1950s, nearly half of Red Lake families fished commercially, setting and pulling their gill nets each day to make ends meet.
I was raised by my grandparents, and they commercial fished, and I learned from them, me and my brother and my sister. And 10 horsepower Mercury, and they had about 18 nets.
My day started at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd go out and retrieve my nets. I'd take the fish out, take a couple hours, hang the nets. After I return from the fishery, I take my daily catch to the fishery. I'm ready to go back out about noon, 1 o'clock. Then I'll go and set. My day is usually from 4 in the morning till maybe 2 to 4 in the afternoon. That was a typical day.
While federal regulations mandated that the BIA closely monitor the walleye take and manage Red Lake based on scientific principles, in practice it did neither. It instead set a fixed harvest quota, ignoring its impact on the walleye's health, and failed to limit the number of band members commercial fishing. Meanwhile, the Fisheries Association failed to control the number of nets each was setting, and periodically asked the BIA for quota extensions, which were always granted.
We had a quota of 650,000 pounds of walleye every year. And when that was filled, then they stopped the fishing. The only time they would extend it was when, like, we had lean years and people didn't really have jobs back then, you know.
Regulation of walleye fishing was equally lax on Red Lake's state-controlled waters. Scores of non-Indian anglers regularly exceeded their daily catch limits. All told, poor enforcement by and communication between managers of both sides of Red Lake, combined with inadequate data regarding the number of fish leaving the lake, promoted rampant overfishing. It also fueled a booming black market for walleye that helped to double the annual legal take. Red Lake began to buckle under the relentless pressure. In the 1970s and 80s, the walleye began to experience boom and bust cycles, a clear omen that the species was in serious jeopardy. But soaring walleye prices continued to lure more band members into commercial fishing. In the early 90s, the Fisheries Association saw its membership surge from 200 to 700, and its annual harvest top out at almost 1 million pounds. Then came the crash.
The 93, 94, it was starting to get, very sporadic. Things were slowing down, and by 95, it was obvious that, there just wasn't any fish out there to be caught.
It was getting harder to catch enough to turn in to make any money, and we were starting to use more nets to catch a little fish.
The population and harvest dropped dramatically to where in 1996 the harvest was only 15,000 pounds, so it was just a tiny fraction. So it was in that year, at that harvest, that we determined a true population collapse of the walleye.
We knew then that something was going on. We weren't gonna have fish any longer if we didn't do anything, if something wasn't done.
Oh, crappie.
Cool. Got a crappie. What do you have? Got a crappie.
Come on, walleyes, where are you?
I'm winning. I'm eating what?
Come on, walleyes.
I'm winning.
Yeah, I gotta catch up to you now.
Concerned that a vital cultural and economic resource was vanishing before their eyes, the Red Lake Fisheries Association took action. In 1997, association members voted to put themselves out of business.
We handed out the ballots, everybody voted, put them in a box, and when they got done, it was out of the 40, 30 of them wanted to cease fishing. So at that time, the board decided, well, majority rules, so we will cease fishing. The Red Lake fishermen stopped fishing before anybody else did. They seen the problem that there was, the fish just weren't there anymore. They gave up
their livelihood. It was tough for them, tough for everybody. We couldn't eat walleye, we couldn't fish. When I used to go eat walleye in Bemidji, but it wasn't Red Lake Walleye. Because it's different.
With their main source of income now gone, many fishermen sold their boats and gear, turning elsewhere to make a living. Some found work in logging, construction, or the band's casinos. Others took on odd jobs or harvested maple syrup to get by. Meanwhile, Red Lake Chairman Bobby Whitefeather, recognizing that saving the walleye depended on the state of Minnesota's cooperation, initiated a dialogue with state officials, demonstrating it was serious about the walleye's recovery. In 1998, the Red Lake Council banned subsistence fishing by hook and line, ending all walleye harvesting on its waters. The state responded, reducing the daily catch limit to 2 walleyes, before eventually approving a complete moratorium on walleye fishing on its side of Red Lake.
Tribe took it upon itself to say, look, we have to be responsible for our own regulation, our own laws, and our own legislation, our own enforcement, and we can't wait around for the BIA to give us the nod of when to say when. So you got to credit the leadership at that time, both of the tribal council and the fishery and the fishers themselves, who said, look, you know, there's the writing is on the wall, we have to do something, and taking that bold step to say, now is the time to do something. We can't wait any longer.
Negotiations between the band and the state culminated in the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding in 1999, a first in the history of band-state relations. The MOU reaffirmed the band's harvesting freeze, outlawed walleye fishing on state waters, and mandated strict enforcement of the moratorium on both sides of the lake. It also established a multi-partner technical committee to draft and implement a plan to recover the walleye and ensure its long-term sustainability.
So we determined that the committee would have State Department of Natural Resource experts, Tribal Department of Natural Resource experts, a couple representatives from the Red Lake Fisheries Association, and then also some outside folks, including the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Fish and Wildlife Service, and the University of Minnesota.
It was pretty much key to this thing working, because before that, the state was basically doing what they were doing, and the band was doing what they were doing, but there was never any cooperation or talking between the two agencies. And with a joint resource like this, if you don't cooperate, it's just never going to work, because you don't know what the other one's doing all the time. There's not that level of trust.
The challenge facing the technical committee was daunting.
We all had to be frank with one another, and what we were talking about was a major fish stock collapse on what is actually the 6th largest freshwater lake in the United States. You know, if you go beyond the 5 Great Lakes, Red Lake is the largest natural freshwater lake in the country.
Recognizing there was plenty of blame to go around for the walleye's demise, the committee instead focused on the future, resolving to work as one to devise a solution. Adopting governing principles of mutual respect, shared science, and consensus decision-making, it developed an ambitious plan to restore the walleye through massive fry stockings, strong enforcement of the moratorium, and extensive data collection to track the quantity, maturity, and reproductive capability of the walleye as it recovered.
What we did here at Red Lake is we had a very simple plan to bring back the walleye. We shut down fishing both on the reservation and off reservation. We increased law enforcement, and then we stocked a bunch of fish. That was the easy part. Now the hard part is when you have to start managing people or the social aspects.
Many were skeptical the plan would work given the lake's immense size, the decades of bad blood between its 2 main partners, and the failure of similar walleye recovery efforts elsewhere.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I didn't think it would work. I didn't. You know, this, everybody had a part in it, you know, that lived around this area here, close to the lake and stuff. They all sacrificed some.
Walleye. Because they're long and they're good to eat and they give up a good fight, huh, Dad?
Yeah.
Plus, they're a lot of fun to catch. Oh, here comes another one.
Alright, turn the key on it. Excuse me. Jacket on.
I got another one before and it was too big though.
No. Yeah, I don't know. It's 21.5 inches there. Yeah.
Still one too.
Really?
Good little fish, huh?
Members of the technical committee predicted it would take 10 years for the walleye to fully recover, even if everything went right. But the restocking effort, coupled with an aggressive campaign by the band and state to educate area residents about the importance of respecting the moratorium, began to bear fruit sooner than anyone expected.
I really didn't have any confidence in it at first, but I went down a few years later when they were taking spawn, and then I seen that they were coming back.
By 2006, it was clear the recovery effort had defied the odds. Rebounding from an all-time low of less than 200,000 in the mid-90s, the walleye in Red Lake had skyrocketed to more than 10 million. It also boasted several strong year classes of sexually mature fish capable of natural reproduction, a telltale sign of the renewed health of the species.
We had to have a collaborative to get that done. That's a big lake out there. It's a big resource, and to bring it back in that short a time, it's just phenomenal. You know, that's part of sovereignty is you know, you can do those things to strengthen your resources.
Initially, we weren't sure how the group was going to, you know, work things out, but as we progressed and started developing a plan, we all began to understand and respect each other, and to actually foster, you know, a solid working relationship.
Project managers point to several reasons for its extraordinary success, including the band's decision to become a self-governance tribe, which enabled it to undertake the project free of the BIA's bureaucracy. The technical committee's generation of a single, comprehensive picture of the lake's health and the walleye's strength, and the commitment of band and state political leaders to refrain from interfering in the committee's work.
We're sharing data with one another now. Before it was, you know, the other hand, one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing. They were doing their studies and we were doing ours, and nobody was showing each other data, you know, what was happening.
The governing bodies at that time basically just kept their hands off of the scientific guys and said, you know, here's your job, come up with the best plan, and then you guys come to us and, you know, give us a recommendation, or we'll discuss and see where we want to go with this thing.
Perhaps the most critical factor in the walleye's recovery was gaining and sustaining the support of those who fish Red Lake.
For 8-9 years, you could go on to this massive body of water and virtually never ever see, you know, a human being out there. So the tribal members, you know, during the phase left the lake alone, and off the reservation too. You know, the people left the resource alone to heal.
The best way to patrol this lake is public policing, and the people were behind this. They wanted the walleyes to come back. They figured, you know, they were sacrificing basically their food store out there, and they wanted to bring the walleyes back, and the only way they could do that is to protect what we were doing and to follow the regulations, and they did that. We only had one violation, you know, in 10 years, which is pretty amazing.
A lot of the members here, it meant so much to them, they voluntarily stopped using the lake, whereas in the past it was their lifestyle to use the lake.
The walleye's resurgence prompted the band and state to reopen Red Lake to subsistence and sport fishing in early 2006, well ahead of schedule. Then, in late 2007, With the technical committee's backing, the band reopened its commercial fishery, confining walleye harvesting to hook and line so that all band members could benefit from their iconic resource. A growing number have taken advantage.
It worked out real good for the better of everybody on the reservation, I think, because there's people fishing now that never commercial fished or anything like that, and they're out there fishing now and making money at it.
If anybody doesn't have a job around here, they can go fish. They can't say there ain't nothing to do, because, or I don't have no money, because they can go angle, provided they're a Red Lake tribal member.
You can see a lot of smiling faces because they're getting a check, feeding their families, and then you can feel that around the little towns, our little villages around here, Red Lake, Redby, Panema,
Before the collapse, Red Lake sold its walleye to off-reservation wholesalers for processing. But now, thanks to grants from the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community, the band has transformed its rundown fishery building into one of the most technologically advanced processing plants in the country. Directing the process from catch to sale has enhanced the band's ability to compete in the commercial walleye market.
We're processing all the fish now, where before they used to ship them out. This way that we create more jobs for the people on the reservation, plus the guys that go out and fish.
I've been working here since back in the 80s, 90s, and I just got rehired back here in August of last year, and they just put me as plant foreman down here.
I was fishing, then they just called me to come to work. It's fun being out in the lake, though. Fun being over here, working at all the walleyes.
The fishery employs upwards of 45 band members during peak production periods, paying $1.75 per pound of walleye to the 1,400 band members registered to fish on Red Lake. With a daily catch limit of 100 walleyes, that can mean a sizable income.
They probably make more than me, what I get every 2 weeks. And it adds up for them. They probably get about 500 to 600, maybe more. And it adds up when you bring in your walleyes, a lot of pounds. Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a change in the overall mood, the feel of the community. I had a young mother who said, I haven't spent this quality time with my son since they were just small boys. And we were kind of skeptical at first, but now we got a boat, we're out, we're fishing, and we're having a blast out there. And we made $900 last week. And that's really helped us out a great deal at home. And we're having fun doing it, and it's good quality time spent together.
Fish sticks.
How do you make them? How do I usually make them?
You make them
Remember
really
flour?
good. You make them with flour. I don't know what other.
Remember eggs?
Yeah, he made them taste like chicken. I think he made walleye taste like chicken. I did not know how he did that though. It was magic. Sometimes I want to be lazy. Watch TV.
This is more fun.
Yep, a lot more fun. Because I just get to hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
Fishing.
That is really then.
Now that the walleye is healthy, the technical committee is working to keep it that way. Holding true to the biological principles that spurred the recovery, the committee determines the annual harvest quota through a rigorous analysis of what the walleye population can support, and then sets maximum catch numbers for the band and state based on the percentages of Red Lake that they control. In 2009, Red Lake Fisheries hired crews to gillnet for walleye in order to keep more plant workers on the job when hook and line fishing was slow, ensuring that the pounds they harvested were well within Red Lake's sustainable quota.
So the technical committee has met and does meet 2 times a year in the spring and late fall to analyze the data that the 2 state and tribal assessment teams collect, and to analyze reports and make recommendations on what should be done in the following year.
While poor regulation caused the collapse, today the band and state's natural resource departments work together to control the harvest, jointly educating the public about the scientific rationale for the catch limits and operating tip hotlines for reporting those who violate them. The 2 governments, along with the BIA, recently renewed their MOU, which will enable the technical committee to continue its vital work. It is all part of their united effort to ensure that history does not repeat itself.
We learned a good lesson by what happened here. We need to show respect for that fish. If we start disrespecting it, then that's when things will start happening again.
I don't think there's any doubt that we're going to continue to keep protecting the walleye. There's going to definitely be a learning curve. But the good thing is we've been taking it step by step and taking it very slowly and very cautiously. So I'm really not too worried about, say, overfishing the lake again.
Heeding the call of their ancestors, the Red Lake people are committed to sustaining the walleye as a vibrant part of their culture on behalf of their youth and those yet to come.
And we're on Shinabeg, Ojibwe, and we need to give thanks, for what happened, for all these fish that are being taken. We need to be thankful for that, our people, we need to do that.
We had it collapse once, and we're never going to let that happen again. It's in our charge, we have to take care of it as our group of people for the next generation.
And the young folks that are coming up now, they're being taught by their parents and elders, that this is something sacred. You were given this, you need to take care of it now.
Oh, it means a lot, because before we didn't have that many walleyes and couldn't fish or nothing, and it means a lot because it just kind of goes way back to like grandparents and stuff. So be good for like him when he has kids, and make sure there's walleyes for them so they can come out here and fish.
And I'm not a him, I'm Daniel.
Get it, Daniel.
You got a name,
Yeah, something to be proud of, Red Lake Walleye.
And I'm his only son. There's 2 daughters and 1 boy. Well, it takes a longer time to catch fish in the winter. Except for me, I had my one lucky hook until I lost it. He lost it. He lost my favorite hook to a big walleye. One time my dad tried to set it for me, and I ended up catching one. That was good times, good times. I'm off to go back to fishing.